in this season of my life where I am completing the last portion of my pregnancy. I am realizing that there are some changes that need to be made in my body to prepare for the best outcome for my baby's gut microbiome. Recently, I read a book from Dr. Davis called Supergut, and in this book, he challenges us to reintroduce bacteria that has otherwise been lost from our gut microbiome through a series of antibiotics and medications and poor eating habits. Now, my eating habits have absolutely gone through periods of more strict, good, healthy, wholesome, whole foods style eating to periods where I rely more heavily on pastas and carry out and some fast foods and the more standard American diet style foods, just because of different seasons in my life being really busy, and also because different seasons in my life I have been feeding those bad bacterias that now are craving all of those carbs and those sugars. So after reading this book, Dr. Davis has challenged the readers to change their ways of eating so that it can be a good environment for this good bacteria. He gives recipes on different cultured dairies and different cultured foods that you can introduce into your diet so you can then grow these good bacterias and starve out the bad bacterias. So over the past few weeks, I have been slowly cutting out different foods that I bring into my home, such as refined sugars and refined carbs. So I've been slowly incorporating a lot more soups into our family's diet, and healing foods, healing meats, and fermented foods. And I have been cutting out more grains and sugars and sweeteners and trying to balance that out a little bit better. My personal reasons for doing this, not only just because I'm seeing my poor eating habits becoming more mainstream for me and I need to do a little bit of a reset, but another goal of mine is to create the optimal gut microbiome for this baby before it is born, so that way as this baby passes through my birth canal, it is inoculated with all of the beneficial bacterias that this baby needs to survive. It is my way as a mother for me to set the framework for this baby to be in the ultimate health that it could possibly be. And in doing so, because I am cooking and preparing foods for myself, the rest of my family members are also benefiting from that. Now, sometimes when I make proclamations that family, everybody gather around the table, starting next week, we are going to eat GAPS style foods or carnivore protocols or any sort of other gut healing or major dietary changes, like we're cutting out sugar and we're cutting out carbs. Well, I shouldn't say carbs. We're cutting out grains. My family always pushes back, and it becomes that, oh, well, we're not allowed to have this, so therefore, oh, all the meals are horrible. This is just miserable. Instead of making this big proclamation, I am just slowly going to be integrating these healthier foods into our diet and slowly doing away with more of the grains and sugars and processed foods, and just kind of sneak it on in and see if I have much pushback. Now, my two older girls, they are old enough to be able to recognize that, hey, we're going to address a few things. So my oldest has her driver's license and does have the ability to go out and get other foods elsewhere. And so I'm sitting down and talking with both of them about the importance of proper eating. Now, this is something that these kids have grown up doing. We've been going through waves of more strict and more lax dietary protocols. So good nutrition is not unknown to my children. They understand the full importance of eating properly. But just like me, it is really hard to turn down an ice cream sundae or a cheese pizza when you've gradually been eating that way. It takes a lot of discipline to say, no, I am actually not going to eat that. I'm going to choose pot roast instead. So I am sitting them down and going over some different changes that we're making just to help hold them accountable, because they have different health goals that they would like to meet, and they have different symptoms that they would like to help resolve, which I believe a lot of it has to do with the different foods that we've been eating. So we are going through a little bit of a reset, if you want to call it that, where our whole family is going to be changing our way of eating. And over these last few months of pregnancy, we are all working together to create a better gut microbiome throughout our entire family. I have been cutting out modern day wheats. I don't bring normal all-purpose flour into my home anymore. The only flour that I have in my house is einkorn flour. I also have several 100 pounds of einkorn berries that I am grinding freshly and putting in my sourdough starter and doing a whole grain einkorn sourdough. So for us, because we don't have any major gut symptoms like digestive issues, I am not opposed to keeping the einkorn sourdough in our diets. So I am grinding up some wheat berries and adding them into our sourdough. I am making English muffins with those because einkorn does not rise the same way that modern wheats do. It doesn't create that fluffy bread that we're used to. So I'm using this for more of the flatbreads and muffins and more dense breads. So that's what we are substituting our sandwich breads with now. I'm also making Dr. Davis's SIBO yogurt, he calls it, where I have different bacterial cultures that I mix together, and I mix them up in milk and culture that in my Instant Pot on the yogurt setting, because it needs to be at 110 degrees for 36 hours. And I've never made yogurt in my Instant Pot before. I've always just used the oven with the oven light on. That usually just keeps it at the perfect temperature. But because this particular bacteria needs to be at about 110 and it needs to go for so long, I was struggling because I couldn't use my oven for 36 hours with me using just the oven light. So I am using my Instant Pot now, and I just put the jars right in the Instant Pot and press the timer, and then come back and have a delicious thick yogurt. Another cultured dairy product that I am implementing on a daily basis is also kefir. I have the kefir grains that I am mixing in with my raw milk and leaving that on the counter overnight, and because it's so warm, it doesn't take long to culture. So I am having those being made around the clock. And with the kefir and the SIBO yogurt, I am making a fruit smoothie with that. Another thing that I am doing is adding sauerkraut and sauerkraut juice to my soups. And that has been another way for me to add extra bacteria and good bacteria into my diet as well. I also want to mention a little bit about Group B Strep. Now, I tested for my first 2 babies and I was positive for it at the time. And I did not seek antibiotic intervention for those two. After doing some research, I came to the conclusion that the best thing for me was to support my body by increasing my probiotic count and also taking things like garlic and different natural antibiotic supplements instead. Now, I chose not to test for Group B Strep for my other pregnancies because I would just prefer to assume that I am a carrier of it, that I have it, and act accordingly. So making these probiotic heavy meals is another way that I can produce a better environment for the birth of this baby. So I've got this pot here of beef, a dirty counter, wow, of beef juices and cartilage and bone marrow from some beef shank that I made the other day. And I want to consume all this wonderful goodness, but I really don't want to be sitting there chewing down on, connective tissue, and even bone marrow just kind of tastes like, it has the consistency of snot. I would think that, just kind of gelatin, gooey, slimy. Anyway, so I don't really, I enjoy spreading it on, breads and stuff like that, but I don't really want to sit there and drink snot. So I am going to puree this up real good and then drink it like that. So we'll see. That's breakfast. Voila. There we go. Pureed all up. Let's see if we can get this down. Just kicking back some snot liquid for breakfast. It's not so bad. I mean, it's salty, so it's got like the beef salt, like beef broth, sure. But it does have some bits of chunkiness to it, so we're just gonna work on that. All in the name of gut health. This baby knows that I love it already. I mean, the flavor's good. It's good, It's just the drinking snot water. That was the ice cube because it was so hot. It's really good, guys. It's really good. I think I'm gonna have to name this baby Medjool because of all these Medjool dates that I've been eating. Because peanut butter just is not a good baby name. Pop the little seed out, spread them apart, and make 2 little date boats, and then slather a little peanut butter inside of it. Okay. This is all in the name of potassium and magnesium levels needing to come up, okay? But I've been doing gaps, which I am pretty certain peanut butter is a no-go, but that's okay because I'm not bothered by peanut butter. However, I'm eating a lot of peanut butter because this is a really tasty treat. So I'm gonna grab my sweet little spoon and my dates and some peanut butter and make my little peanut butter date boats and only eat 2 or 3. See how cute these little guys are? They're like a little deliciousness. And then if I really want to be fancy, I'll sprinkle a little powdered cocoa powder on it. So yummy. So this morning I am drinking a smoothie made out of a homemade yogurt that, it's not just any homemade yogurt. It has 3 specific strains of bacteria. It's actually quite delightful. 3 different strains of bacteria that apparently most of our human bodies do not have anymore because of antibiotics. The one particular strain is completely wiped out with antibiotic use.
So I'm supposed to go gentle with the dosage and just have like, you know, a little bit at a time. But if you know me, it's kind of go big or go home. So we're just gonna see how well this sits on my stomach today. um, I hope it's good. I hope that there are no adverse reactions and trips to the bathroom. But anyway, so this yogurt, you buy the 3 different probiotics and you mix them up with some milk and inulin powder, which is like a fiber that the probiotics can consume. And you make a slurry out of it, and then you add it to some more milk, and then set it at 100 degrees for 31 hours. Now this length of time is an extremely long length of time, much longer than normal yogurt, because what you're trying to do is kill off all that lactose. So, or have the bacteria eat up all that lactose. So we'll see. Here's to good bowel movements today. Okay, hear me out. My kitchen is a mess, and you know, there's so many times that I want to record a video and look around, and I'm like, I can't show people my house looking like this. So anyway, that aside, just bear with me. You need to stop bouncing because you're bouncing the floor. So I have been making the cultured SIBO yogurt from Dr. Davis's book, Super Gut. And I have also been making kefir, which some people call kefir. But I do not. So I have the yogurt, I have the kefir, and I have a bunch of fruits. I know with healing the gut, you want to try and keep your sugar down in your digestive system. I have slightly different goals right now because I am pregnant. So I am having significant leg cramps. So I know that I need to keep my potassium and magnesium. Okay, I have a child that is climbing under the tripod. You have got to move. So I am adding some bananas, and I'm also adding coconut water to my smoothies. So you'll see that that is going in. If you are dealing with a gut microbiome issue where you're trying to cut out the different yeasts and candida, then you want to cut down on the sugars. I am, again, like I said, kind of supporting slightly differently. So, and then I also have tart cherry juice that I got from Costco, which I don't know how I missed this in my Costco haul, which was one of my previous videos just recently, because I got a ton of these tart cherry juices. And tart cherry juice is so high in antioxidants. And also, was it vitamin, so potassium, and I think, wasn't it like vitamin C? I don't see vitamin C in here. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, so I have tart cherry juice and coconut water, and I've got mixed fruits and bananas and ice. And I have been making this smoothie every single morning for the past maybe 3 weeks, and it's been delicious. I do not add protein powder in it right now because I am trying to work on healing my gut, and protein powders I was suspicious were causing gas. So I cut out the protein powders, and with the protein powders it had like the vanilla flavoring in it, and it was a little sweet, so it made the smoothie taste really yummy. But if you can get over the flavor of kefir and that kind of cow-like flavor, which I'm surprised that I have been able to do. Oh, you want to show the tea? I'm surprised that I've been able to get over that taste, but it's not been bad at all. So anyway, I am going to make the smoothie for you and show you how easy it is to make a gut healing smoothie. Want to help?
Yeah.
Okay. You stay right here. Whoa, don't bounce. Don't bounce. Stay right here.
And look at me.
Nobody can see you. Back up. There you go. Go ahead now. You're such a goof. Okay. So, yep, we're going to add, and I don't have measurements, I just pour. I would say anywhere between a half cup and quarter cup each. Quarter cup and half cup each. All right. Now I have my cow, and so I'm a huge advocate for raw milk and raw yogurt. However, raw milk and yogurt cultures do not mix well. The raw milk bacteria and the yogurt cultures fight against each other, and you end up coming up with a really watery yogurt. So with this particular yogurt, I heat the raw milk up to 180 degrees, let it cool, then added in a few tablespoons of the previous batch of this yogurt once it got down to like 100, 110. And then I put the jars, I filled up 3 jars, put them in my Instant Pot and hit the yogurt setting, and I did that for 36 hours. This yogurt needs to culture for. And the reason why is because 36 hours, all the lactose is consumed, so you're not dealing with that milk sugar. So I'm gonna add, and I think Dr. Davis says have a half a cup of this a day. You could very easily eat it, like a yogurt with some fruit in a bowl. And that's totally fine. Honestly, I would love to get some raspberries out of the garden since they're growing so much right now, but the garden is a little bit challenging to get to.
Yeah.
It is so overgrown with weeds. So stop. I've been weed whacking it to try and keep some of the weeds down, and it's just so bad. So we have another beautiful day of, I think it's going to be low 70s today. And I'm going to head out there with the weed whacker again and see if my poor hips and my poor back can hold up for another round of weed whacking. All right, I'm gonna put some fruit in.
I want some.
You want some?
Yeah.
Here is a mango. Would you like a mango? Okay, and now I'm gonna add some bananas.
I like those.
You like frozen bananas?
Yeah.
Again, I am doing this to help with the potassium levels. I'm having pretty significant leg cramps. I have this apple cider vinegar, garlic, I think cayenne. Let's see what this is. Ginger. Apple cider vinegar, ginger, and garlic. And this has helped with my leg cramps before. I don't know if you can see it. But for some reason, it is not helping with this pregnancy. So, all right, top it off with some ice so you can have a fruit smoothie and not fruit juice. All right, let's see if my liquid ratio is good. All right, I'm gonna head on over to the blender.